The controversy over the Republican Party's nomination process is getting more intense. Ted Cruz is now accusing his rival, Donald Trump, of whining over Cruz's sweep of delegates in Colorado.
He yells and screams and stamps his foot. He curses and yells and insults anyone nearby. Look, as we know in the state of California, wine is something best served with cheese.
Since losing Colorado, Trump has been very vocal about the nominating process. Here he is at a rally in Albany, New York.
I'm hundreds of delegates ahead, but the system, folks, is rigged. It's a rigged, disgusting, dirty system. It's a dirty system.
And then Trump is sharing this video of a Colorado voter burning his American Party registration form after Cruz's victory. His campaign notes that this guy is not the only one saying goodbye to the GOP.
You have millions of Republican voters right now who are tearing up their registrations as we speak. We have voters in Louisiana, you have voters in Tennessee who all are experiencing this right now, and many of them are threatening to leave the party.
So two questions. One, why is Colorado such a pivotal point? Why do you think Trump is focused on that? And do you think Cruz's reaction, well, what do you think of it?
Well, I think the reason that Trump is complaining about Colorado is because he lost. And what he's pinning it on is the fact that there is no primary or caucus in the state of Colorado. The delegates in that state are selected by a state convention, which can sound like sort of an insider deal. Now, look, I will actually agree with Donald Trump. I don't like the system that they've adopted in Colorado. I think it is bafflingly undemocratic, and the people should be allowed to vote. However, this is the system that was put in place months ago. We've known these rules since August. Donald Trump knew the rules since August. But now that he got his clock cleaned again, operationally by Ted Cruz, he is throwing out very charged language like corrupt and rigged as an excuse for his own team's ineptitude and shortcomings. And I think that that's really unfortunate because he's casting doubt on the legitimacy of the entire process, which can be toxic.
Well, but that resonates with voters, right, Andrea? I mean, people have said that they feel like their voices don't count. And my second question, and I'll ask it to you, what do you think about Cruz's response today?
Well, a couple things. Guy's absolutely right. I mean, the process in Colorado, it is a bit sketchy. So Trump absolutely has a point there. But it is the rules, and those are the rules, and they set those rules in place. It's a message that works, though, because Trump is also correct. I mean, both men can be right on some issues, because it's complicated. It's not black and white. Trump is correct. The establishment has been working behind the scenes to get rid of him. So he has a point, and he knows that this resonates with his supporters. But again, and I brought this point up yesterday, Trump has actually benefited far more than Ted Cruz from the arcane rules of the Republican Party.
Exactly.
When you look at this, Trump leads the Republican field, 756 delegates, which is 45% of the delegates awarded to date. However, Trump's support is greater than his actual support from voters. So he has more delegates, even though he has less support from the voters when you look at the math. So his argument, not exactly bulletproof on that one.
And actually, you raised an excellent point. Cruz has benefited much less than Trump because, as you pointed out, Trump has 22% above his raw vote in terms of delegates. Cruz only has 14. So if anybody has the right to complain about getting the short end of the stick here, I can't believe I'm defending Ted Cruz, but it's actually Ted Cruz and not Donald Trump. You know, Trump has to realize it's a big boy game. His staff was outworked, and that's why and that's why he's in the situation he's in. He should probably have hired better ground people.
He's brought on Paul Manafort, who's known for a tight game when it comes to this sort of thing. So, I mean, if he has some catching up to do, I asked this yesterday, is there time for him to catch up? Watching Ted Cruz, though, respond to this, Dagan, makes me think that, you know, perhaps Donald Trump can catch up.
Donald Cruz, again, there's that slip of like combining the two into one ticket.
I have nightmares about that.
I know. And if you put their faces together,
wipe away all the problems that we're currently discussing.
Great hair, though, great hair.
But I'm surprised. So big picture, this dovetails with Trump as the outsider. He's going to rip up this horrible system. But getting it to the ground game, I am shocked that he has not walked his talk better, that he didn't put in a ground game, planning, organization, and thrown some of his money at this. That's what's kind of glaring at this point.
Or maybe he didn't feel like he needed to.
Right. Again, I think there's part of this campaign is like, wowza. I'm so surprised that I am where I am. He could have wrapped this up if he had thrown more money at it and more people on the ground.
Here's a thought, though, because I was looking at how the rules work, and you and I were talking about this before the show, Guy. You know, you still have that 8-state rule that exists before you get to the convention. A candidate who would be ahead, even with the 1237 votes needed, would need to also win by 8 states. And that was put into place right before 2012 by Mitt Romney's crew.
Under that rule, you have to win the majority of delegates in 8 nominating contests to be eligible to be placed into nomination. It's very arcane. And by the way, those are 2012 rules. They can be completely rewritten and thrown out by the 2016 delegates. I just want to make one point about...
Which is why Trump is correct when he says that there could be some funny business going on, and there could be some funny business going on in other states. But again, the math backs up what Cruz is saying. Donald Trump has won 45% of the delegates, but only 37% of the vote.
Before we go on, one second, because I want to get this in. An aide for Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, is now saying that he will rule himself out as the potential 2016 presidential candidate. Quote, once and for all, he's set to speak today to make that known to the nation at 3:15 p.m. Eastern. So that's something, obviously, that we'll cover here. But we've seen this sort of thing from Paul Ryan before when he said he didn't want the speaker's job, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't he rule himself out? Speaker, this is Sherman-esque. I'll never be speaker. Guess what he is today. I will say, with respect to Donald Trump and his complaints, you know, and we both have done campaigns, so we know this. The most dangerous thing is a candidate who doesn't know what he doesn't know. He's not expected to know these arcane rules. He's the candidate.
Yeah, but his whole campaign is, I'm going to go out and hire people.
What he is expected, you're absolutely right. What he's expected to do is to go out there and hire people who do know what they're doing, and his staff obviously didn't know what they were doing and doesn't want to bring in anybody who does know until Paul Manafort
Can I ask a question? And Dagan, I want to come back to you because I cut in to bring in that news about Paul Ryan. but I'll come to you with this question. So Donald Trump, in a way, can't win or lose in this scenario, because when he's criticized for taking a few days off to look at his staff, that becomes, oh my gosh, there must be turmoil in the ranks. But when he puts people in place, well, why did it take so long? So which is it?
I think that he is a genius at making the best of a bad situation, that he has taken this, and it was a snafu, not knowing the rules in Colorado, and people feel cut off and disenfranchised, certainly in that state, but he's made it, he's on the stump and whipping people into a frenzy over what happened to him in Colorado. But I do want to point out, he has to step up, he has to hire people, he is doing that, but again, because of the late date, it looks like it's going to the convention when he could have gotten to 1237, potentially, at least by California.
No question.
Well, it's interesting to see that it potentially could really be Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, maybe John Kasich, but according to Paul Ryan, it will not be him, and he plans to make that official on the record at 3:15 p.m. today, and of course we'll cover it here on Fox News.